Welcome, everybody, to this presentation on the business model canvas. Going to be presented by Sid Ragona, a volunteer at SCORE. And Sid, also, congratulations on being elected to the MANA Board of Directors.
Thank you. It's an honor.
And I'm going to turn the meeting over to you.
In this presentation, I would actually like to talk about Business Model Canvas as a planning tool. In fact, the goals of the presentation are twofold. First, I would like to introduce the Business Model Canvas. And secondly, I would like to show how it can be applied to the business of being a manufacturer's rep. It can be used for a large rep firm, and it can be used for a single person rep firm. So let's start with what's really required at the beginning, which is how does the Business Model Canvas differ from a traditional business plan? Generally, people are always taught to actually look at a business plan. This comes from the idea that if you fail to plan, you plan to fail. That's the old mantra. And that's been translated into you need a business plan. Well, the truth of the matter is you probably don't need a business plan unless you're looking for funding. So let's look at the difference between a business model canvas and a traditional business plan, because there is a difference. The first difference that you'll notice with a business model canvas is that it's only one page, whereas a business plan, depending on the business, can easily be 20 to 60 pages. A second major difference between the BMC and a traditional business plan is that the traditional business plan takes days, more likely weeks, possibly months to complete, whereas a business model canvas can be completed in roughly 30 to 45 minutes. There are some other differences as well, and these are differences that I think many people will relate to. When people have spent a long time trying to write a business plan, they're very grateful that it's over, and it's generally folded up, put in a drawer, locked somewhere, and it's never read again. That's the fate of almost every business plan that's been written if it wasn't being taken to the bank for funding. A business model canvas takes about 30 minutes, maybe 45 if it's in detail. It can be put on a board. You can actually fill it in with bullet points. You don't have to do a lot of writing. And you can use sticky notes, especially if you're in a group meeting or you have other people's input, and you simply use sticky notes to plan out your business model canvas. The business model canvas is not a business plan. It is actually a snapshot in time of your business. And because it's a snapshot, it allows you to make alterations very easily. So let's get started with an overall description of the business model canvas. This is a business model canvas, and it consists of 9 separate boxes. The way to view this, and it's unlike anything else that you generally fill in, we're all conditioned to actually filling in things that go from left to right or top to bottom. However, with the business model canvas, we start right in the middle. We start with the value proposition of your business. What is your value proposition? What problem do you solve? If you don't have a value proposition because you're not solving anybody's problem, you're generally not going to be in business for very long. In fact, you don't have a business if you don't have a value proposition. So we actually start in the middle with the value proposition. On the right-hand side, as you're looking at the document, you will notice several other boxes. You'll notice customer segments, customer relations, channels, how you communicate with your customers, and the revenue that comes from them. Everything on the right-hand side is who you generated the value proposition for and how you actually communicate it to them. And of course, how you earn money. On the left-hand side, this can be sort of considered as internal to your own business. This is your partners, your activities, your key resources. And all of these actually cost money. And that's why there's a cost structure associated with it. So A good summary of the business model canvas is in the next slide. And that is, like I mentioned, your value proposition is in the middle. To the right side, you have the recipients of your value proposition. And on the left side is how you actually create that value. So really, these are the three parts of the business model canvas. So let's go on to the next slide and we can talk about how we would fill it in. And it's generally filled in with bullet points. With a business model canvas, which you can either do on a page or you can put on a whiteboard, use sticky notes, you can fill it in any way you want. But in general, and I've filled in many of these, I've done it for my own business, I've done it for other people's businesses. This is generally the preferred method and preferred sequence of filling out the business model canvas. Always start in the middle. You've got to know your value. Start with your value proposition. Once you've made a list, and we're going to go through an exercise of this, once you know the value proposition, a series of value propositions perhaps, we then have to look, who is the value proposition for? It's going to be for your customer segments. What are the customer segments that are recipients of this value? What problem are you solving for them? Then we can look at channels. How do you actually get your value proposition from you to them? There's a method of transferring that. And then customer relations. What type of relationship do you have with your customers? It's going to be different with different customers. And it's an extremely good exercise to start putting this into words, because most of us never spend the time to think about this. Some of us do, some of us don't. I think we're all guilty of simply moving along and not really thinking too hard about this. Then on the left-hand side, for 5, 6, and 7, we have key activities. It's actually what we do to create value. With key activities, where it says, anytime it says key in the business model canvas, it means you can't do without it. If you can take it away and your business still runs, it's not a key activity. Same with key resources and key partners. These are absolutely essential components of running your business. By actually having key components, it allows you to see what you really need to run your business. If you put things there and a long list of them, and sometimes it's good to make a long list, and you could see what you could remove that would save you costs, but you'd still be able to operate. This is a good way of using the business model canvas. And everything that's key generally does cost you money. And that's why below that, box number 8, there is a cost structure. So this is the sequence I'm going to go through in the next 10 or 15 minutes. Examples of using a business model canvas is a very flexible document. There are a number of ways a rep company can use the business model canvas. One of them, and this is the one I'm going to use, is let's think about first things first. What does a rep company have to do first? It has to have principles. Without principles, we've got nothing to sell. So I'm going to use this as an example of how to fill out a business model canvas. Another way of filling out the business model canvas, and this could be a separate video, is we could fill it out for some of the products that we sell from the principles. And that would be slightly different, since our customers would be the end users. But for now, let's stay with how to make ourselves attractive to the principal, how to get new principals, and simply how our business benefits our principals. The next slide shows all the types of things that come into how we describe our rep company when we're talking to principals. I'm not going to read each item on the list, but it covers things such as years of experience, track record, synergistic products, geography, established customers, a whole litany of things. These are all the things that somehow we want to put into an orderly manner. And again, in this particular slide, I've tried to list them out and I've color-coded them with the value proposition at the top, the customer segments in pink, and the infrastructure of our organization is in blue. So let's start with the value proposition. This is the most important part of the business model canvas. And as a rep, we should be able to fill in roughly 20 different items. We can prioritize them afterwards. There's all the benefits of being a rep to your principal that we bring. And then there's the specifics of your own organization. If anybody is interested in filling this out, I would strive to see if you can list 20 different things that you have as a value proposition that would be of interest to your principal. I've listed just a few to get things started and to generate ideas. So what I've listed here is, again, years of experience, relevant personal story, established database, synergistic product lines. Hopefully they're synergistic. We only get paid for orders. We don't get paid for effort. In some instances, we have key accounts that would be of interest to the principal, and the list goes on. I do challenge everybody to actually make a list, and hopefully one can see that we do have a lot to offer. And if you have 20 different talking points and you can put them in priority and know them, have them on the tip of your tongue, it's going to be to your benefit next time you talk to a principal or you're trying to acquire a principal. Customer segments. When it comes to customer segments, generally we want our principals to be within the same industry level. So what is the customer segments that you are interested in for your business? And just to get things started, I've put some things down here just really to help with ideas. For example, what is the specific niche that your business operates in? Is it domestic? Is it international? Is it both? If you're based in the United States, do you sell into Canada? If you're based in the United States, are your principals domestic or foreign? Knowing this makes a big difference to how you run your company. Are we selling parts for OEM? And are we selling seasonal goods? There's all sorts in here. So this is going to be very, very, very specific to the rep company that you run. And then we have channels for our business. How do we communicate and deliver our value proposition to our principals? There's many different ways, and I've just listed a few of them here. It could be in the form of joint visits with customers. It could be trade show support. It could be intelligence gathering. Purchase orders, of course, is one way to deliver value, a very important way to deliver value. It could be the follow-up procedures that you perform if they provide you with the leads. There's a whole list of things that you should be able to document on. If you know your value, how do you actually deliver that value to them in a tangible form? The next part is customer relations. You are going to have a relationship with your principal. What form does that take? One of the easiest ways to describe this, and it's described by Mana, is we're partners in profit. And I think that's a very, very important start. I think every rep company would have this as item number one, but we should be able to actually list more than just partners in profit. The contract has a lot to say about this. Are we exclusive or are we non-exclusive? Is there a formal reporting structure? For example, sometimes the relationship is that there's a meeting once a month or once a week, or it has to be in written form, or it has to be a rolling forecast. What kind of relationship do we have with our principals, and how could it be better? First, document what you have, because if you don't know what you have, you don't know how it could be better. Could be considered our infrastructure, if you will. And it's actually what we have to do to create value that we then deliver to the principal. So let's start with key activities. What do we do every day that we have to do every day, or we have to do periodically. It doesn't have to be every day, but key activities are activities that must be done. So for every rep company, it's going to be different, but here is a list that would get most people started. And I think it's a reasonably good list, but we can add to it. Prospecting, traveling, data entry, follow-up, troubleshooting, demonstrations. There's probably a much longer list. And again, it will be specific to your own rep company. What are your key activities? What do you have to do? Often when one is interviewing with a new rep, they sometimes want to know, how are your activities portioned? What sort of activities do you do? And it's good for you to know how much time you spend in each one of them. Once you know how much time you spend in each one of them, it's then good to think about, do they need to be optimized, or do the ratios need to be changed a little bit? Key activities, very important part of the business model canvas. Key resources. What resources do we need? Well, key resources, if you're a large organization, it's going to be a longer list. If you're a single person rep company, it's going to be a shorter list. And I've just listed a few here. Most single person rep companies rely on the telephone, Wi-Fi, internet, and a car or van for traveling to meet customers. So sometimes this can be quite short, but it's good to know what you must have. So let's talk about key partners. Key partners are who else helps us to be successful. If you're a single person rep company, then at a minimum, you probably have a bail team. B is for banking, A is for accounting, I is for insurance, and L is for legal. So I've put them here. I think everybody probably has the bail team as a starter. And let's not forget, if you're watching this, you're most likely a Manor member. Manor is one of your partners. This list can be much longer, depending on which partners you have. Some people have virtual assistants, travel agents. You're listing the key partners. And I know that I've said this a few times. The word key means you need them and that you may not be able to operate without them. So we've filled in most of the business model canvas now. We've filled in what our value proposition is. We've filled in the right-hand side about the principles, how we deliver value, how we communicate this value to the principles, and the type of relationship we have. And we've just finished filling out key activities and resources that we need and our key partners. There's only 2 boxes left, and it's outside the scope of this presentation to fill those in, but let me just mention them. There's obviously a cost structure. The cost structure is the cost that we have for operating our business. And the vast majority of, if not all, of that cost structure comes from the 3 boxes that we filled in on the left. We then have revenue streams, and revenue streams for most of us may be simply 100% commission, or there may be different types of relationships we have with our principals, whereby it's a mixture of commission and other forms of compensation, depending on what was set up in the relationship. So I'd like to actually finish this presentation with a few conclusions. The conclusions are, and I've written them here, that the business model canvas is really a great planning tool. It's a great planning tool in the sense that it allows you to model your business. It can all be done on one page in general. And if you have access to a whiteboard, it's sometimes good to actually just have the whiteboard in front of you. You can write on it. If you have other people that want to contribute to it, advisors or anything like this, then you can all do it with sticky notes. When I've done it in groups, we've used whiteboards and sticky notes. It works really well. Make sure you record all of that before somebody takes the sticky notes off. It can be done in 30 minutes. It should be able to do it in 30 minutes. And while there may be many excuses not to write a business plan because you're never going to look at it again, there truly is no good excuse for not trying to fill out a business model canvas. Once you've filled out a business model canvas, and I've seen this with almost everybody, in fact, with everybody that's done it, they have a clearer picture of how their business currently operates. And it allows you to think about how you want to modify the operation of your business. So thank you for your attention, and I hope this was useful. Bye-bye.